Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, look what showed up. That wasn't there before. So, this can only mean one thing. It's been about a year since I jacked around with my rack, and for some odd reason, I decided it works better right here behind me than it does in the room which shall not be named. Well, we're calling it the equipment room now, I guess, something like that. And you're probably wondering why I did that. But more importantly, you should be asking is, how did I do that? I mean, I'm a feeble old man, right? No, not really. I just made the decision that, frankly, I just wanted to see how loud it was. And you know what? It's, compared to the aquariums, it's not loud at all. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's find out how I made all this happen and, what it took. Because it's been a work in progress. So what do you think? What do you think? You see, it's simply a matter of I need room for batteries. I got to make room for batteries and get ready to buy batteries, and I got to have a place to put them in. It was just too much. Too many wires, too much stuff in the way. Look how much space I gain. I can get to the wall back here. I can get to my switches. These two switches are going to be going back into that rack out there. So the only switch left in here will be the 48 port PoE. This patch panel, I'm not going to move it. And this internet router, the PFSense router, will stay where they are for now because I don't want to extend my internet connection yet into the other room. I will, but not today. So today the goal is to get these Unify switches off of here, moved. Circuit number 1 is the one I've got to be careful of because I need to have this is connectivity to the rest of the house. So over to the living area. So I don't want to turn that off until I absolutely have to. And then the ones here on the Netgear can stay where they are, but I've got to locate where number 4 goes to. Okay, so I've gotten used to it being here. It's been here for 2 days now, and it's really not bothering me, so to speak. However, one thing that is happening is it's brought the heat out of the equipment room and into the studio. Alexa, what's the temperature?
Right now, it's 94 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, expect a low of 77 degrees.
Alright, so you can see it's only cooling it down to 82.5, almost 83 degrees. So this equipment's putting some heat out into this room, but I didn't think I was going to like it, but I like having my rack here next to my studio desk, which, pardon, it's a mess. You know, anytime you move stuff around your office, it's a mess. So the big problem I had was in my old equipment room, and that is moving connections, because this was the termination point at one point for everything network related in my home, and it came up here into this patch panel. So what I've had to do is extend this purple connection here. Is going to be, it goes over to that studio desk. I'll show you here in a second. And that's going to be for my internet connection. So I'll extend that little D mark down there, a little white box with the glowing lights. That's the red cable that comes up and is the WAN connection for my pfSense firewall. Well, this is going into that server rack, so I have to have a way to get that signal across over to that rack. So that's what that one is for. The one that I had in there originally, I rewired this keystone, I rewired the keystone at the other end. No matter what I did, I could not get the blue wire to work. So somewhere one of those wires, the blue wire, was broken. So I ran a new black wire under the house up and put it in here and tested it. Now number two is actually the crossover between the switch in my rack and this switch here. This switch here is mainly PoE, and it powers any PoE devices I have in the house, like cameras, that kind of thing, with the exception of a few other things. So right now I have cables just kind of strewn all over the place. You know, we're going to fix all that. It's a hot mess, but the reason I did this is I need, frankly, I don't need more room for on the wall equipment. I need room for batteries. So I'm going to have stacks of batteries in here. I don't know whether I'm going to have them up against this wall or up against this wall. I haven't figured it out yet, but now I have more room to play around with this and make this room what it needs to be. So here is Prometheus ready to go back into the rack. Prometheus got taken out because I needed to do some maintenance on it. We kept the same motherboard, but we did add this dual 10 gig Ethernet NIC card donated by Medicurb. He donated 2 of these. They're super micro 10 gig Ethernet cards, and I had a Mellanox Connect X2 in here that had a fiber transceiver on it, but I wanted to go just use regular standard Ethernet cable and still be able to do 10 gigs. So I found this 10 gig card, that 2 of them actually, that Medicurb donated, slapped it in here. We still got the NVIDIA Quadro K620 Intel i5-10400 CPU with built-in graphics, and I went ahead and upgraded the RAM from 32 to 64 gig of DDR4 3200 RAM. Yeah, there it is. It's up and it's running. I've put Windows 11 Enterprise on it. I've also reinstalled Blue Iris and restored the configuration. We're also using stable bit drive pool on here to put these 4 6TB drives in a drive pool drive array. And we're also going to be running Plex and MB on here, and that's what this video card on the CPU is for. This video card is strictly for Blue Iris to encrypt the video. So a little bit of maintenance. I still have to blow it out, so I'm going to shut it down here shortly. I'm going to blow it out, put it back in the rack, and then we're going to transfer our Plex and MB back over to it. But this is a great little 4U case. But I just wanted to go over the rack and catch you up on what's going on with it. So nothing much has changed as far as the servers go. For right now, I'm going to leave the two Dell 710s in there. But I am going to remove the 720 and I'm going to deconstruct it. I'm going to take all the parts out of it, make it as light as I can, including the motherboard, RAM, CPUs, hard drives, everything. Get it down to the constituent parts. And then I can pull the chassis out and dispose of it and then sell the parts on eBay, you know, unless somebody needs a 720 chassis. The 620 is going to stay. That's the one right here, right above the 720. For now, it is running some virtual machines. Then above that is, you know, Prometheus. You know Prometheus. Yeah, my Blue Iris, my home theater software run on there, Plex and MB. And then above that, with no labels, Medicurb. And Medicurb is really there to run virtualized routers and that kind of thing. But right now I'm using it as a server for my domain controller running virtually and my phone server. So once I get some other equipment in here, namely this behemoth that I'm building there, we'll have a separate video on that. I'll be able to then put that here in the rack with all the other servers. And there's something is going to replace that Dell 720. Spoilers. However, in the meantime, I do have my UDM Pro. Yes, I'm a pfSense guy, and you notice my UDM Pro is not connected to anything. It's just in the rack. I might use it in the future, use it for some videos and whatnot. And then right above that is my Unify Switch 16XG, and this is a 10 gig switch with SFP ports and 4 10 gig Ethernet ports, standard Ethernet ports. So this is where the connection from my workstation, my NASs, they all come into this at 10 gig, and then they get transferred up to this Unify 24 port switch up here. The reason I like Unify is because it's ease of use in setting up VLANs and so forth. I don't have to worry about the PVIDs and trunk ports and all this other terminology that I've just never really wrapped my head around. And I just flip a switch and tell it you belong to this VLAN or you belong to all these VLANs, and it's just dead simple, and that's the way I like it. And then above that, I originally started out with a monoprice patch panel, and basically this is a Keystone Jack patch panel. Those are Keystone Jacks. These are the ones I use, these purple ones right down here. The first one I used was a monoprice, and that thing was a piece of hot garbage. I didn't realize it was all plastic. I should have read the information on it. But this is a TrendNet, so I'm going to send that one back to Amazon. This is a TrendNet. It's all metal. It's all steel, nice thick steel. And the problem I was having was these inserts did not want to come out after you put them in, and they were hard to put in. But in here it was trivial. So I've got all my connections now from my Synology NASs down here, and all my servers that are running. And I'll pretty up the cables as I go along. Right now, the main goal was to get this thing functional, and that'll show me where I need to route cables once I've got it functional. So again, we moved all the equipment out of here, and you can see it gives me a whole bunch more room. I never did like the idea of the rack being underneath the lines for the AC line set for the air conditioner, for the heat pump. So I'm glad it's out of here. And then, so all that's left here is this PoE switch. And this basically is the crossover switch for any of my PoE devices like cameras and that kind of thing. This is where they come to get their signal. And they all come in from the outdoors anyway, which makes it great since I've already got that hole coming up. So it's just a matter of me now that I know all the connections I'm going to need to keep, I can tie up these wires and start tying them up to the wall and getting them through the floor neatly so it's not such a hot mess. And then I've got a whole bunch more room in here for batteries, which is why I moved all this stuff out of here in the first place. Now, I moved all that stuff out of here, and then I put the roll-around cart in here. I did that because I'm currently doing labs. And yes, that's a firearm. Because I'm currently doing labs, and I need this Lenovo running I don't need it running right now, so I'm gonna turn it off so it's not consuming standby power. Much nicer. But I didn't want the noise out of my main room, so I moved it in here temporarily until I get a permanent home for this, which is going to be in that same rack that moved in there. So you can see how this has really opened up the space in here in front of my studio desk, which is where I'm going to be putting a camera. I'm going to be actually putting a bar across the ceiling and mounting a light and a camera permanently up on that piece of pipe that I run across here, and this will be where I shoot most of my videos moving forward. And then I've got this nice area right in front of the fish tanks with my comfortable chair to sit down and look at all my fish before they go to sleep at night, and all my lovely fish over here. It looks like I tilted this light again. Let me fix that real quick. There we go. Yeah, all the fish are doing well too. So as you can see, it just kind of gives me a natural flow to this room where I'm not walking around bumping into stuff. The walkway is plenty wide enough. It was wide enough to get the whole rack down here. This will be sorted out. It's just kind of become a collection point, but it's going to be eventually just a plant stand, right? I'll get the back of the rack prettied up. But as you can see, I've got, and then here's my workbench. This is a big room. You know, it's 13 by 24 feet long. So it's a good sized room. And then this is my Ryzen 5 4500G, I think. Yeah, that I took some parts out of because I'm building another server. But I still have room over here on this telco rack. And there's another switch. It's just kind of a crossover switch for the workbench area. And right now I'm having an issue with it, so we'll look into that. But yeah, so it's just a great use of space. I have 2 work areas now in addition to my desk. I can do this is my company laptop. I've been doing a lot of work on this because I've got an open VPN connection between here and my office, so it's always on. It's like having a WAN connection, using the internet as a wide area network too. So I'm able to log on to my domain controller at the work just like if I was at the office. So but anyway, there's the rack for now, and we'll do an update video. I want to try and release this rack video all at one time, so this might be a long one, and it might be a while before I release it because yeah, I'm waiting on parts to finish this, and then I've got to get up the gumption to wire everything up and decide its final iteration, and then tie all the cables up. So, well, it's been fun, old friend, but unfortunately it's time to bid you adieu. For those of you that don't know, this is my much coveted Dell R720. I don't know whether this was donated by a user. I think it's actually the 710 was donated by a user, but this Dell 720, I had great plans for it, and then it developed some issues that I no longer wanted to troubleshoot. Ideally, this was suited to run the Tesla video cards in it, and for whatever reason it just didn't stand up, and now the unit will boot up, it'll run okay for a while, and then it just stops responding and goes all goofy. So I'm going to try and pull everything out of it that I can. I'm going to go ahead and part this out. I've got, in fact, I've replaced it with a Dell 730. That'll be here today. It's out on the FedEx truck as we speak. So I've already pulled the 8 drives I had in here out, and they're up here on the studio desk. And so now it's a matter of pulling this thing the rest of the way out of the rack and then removing all the other components. I think this has an SSD drive in here I want to take out. Again, I'm going to part this thing out. I'm going to get it down to its least. I've got to pull the power supplies out of the back. I'm going to get it down to where it weighs almost nothing, and I pull everything out of it that I can, and then we'll find something to do with the case, and I'll try to sell the parts on eBay. All right, so here we go. This is the rack and where I'm leaving it at for now. And pardon me, I'm getting used to my new gimbal. So, but here we go. So the Star Tech patch panel, then the Unify switches, 10 gig, 1 gig, Unified Dream Machine, which we're not using. Then we got the Super Epic, and we got Prometheus under that. Then we got the good old Dell 620, an empty spot where the 720 used to be, and my two 710s. Now, I'm not going to be putting I'm not going to be taking the 710s out anytime soon. How do you turn off this tracking? I don't know. Let's see. Maybe, there we go, Joe. It's cameraman problem. Okay, here we go. So yeah, so there's the rack in its final form. Got it all done. Now let's go in the equipment room and show you what I've done in there. You want to see the back of the rack? Yeah, I could show it to you, but yeah. There you go. It's the back of the rack. What can I say? So let's come into the equipment room. And we've done some cleanup in here. And there we go. So we got my Dell 730 right here. Above the Lenovo SR650V2. Here's my Dell R730. And then back on the wall, all the wires are neatly run, well, as neatly as I can do. And yeah, then our patch panel. And this this switch is strictly dedicated to the cameras, the PoE cameras. There is no, the only crossover here are these blue and the white cables. They cross over to, one crosses over to the den. The blue cable crosses over to the workbench to that side of the office, and then the rest of these go out to cameras out on the house for PoE. And then there's my connection point for my ISP. There's a fiber coming in on top, and then it converts it to down to Cat 5 cable, 10 base T. So yeah, there you go. Got it all cleaned up. Got the power strip mounted on the wall so that I can run these servers in here when I need to. And when I do turn them on, it's usually only for the afternoon while I'm playing around and trying new stuff. But yeah, there you go. So we've got it all. We've got it all and hooked up and tied up and out of the way. And we're well on our way to, once we get the electrical all done, we'll be doing that. So there you go. Yeah, so this whole process has taken me, oh, I don't know, probably about a month to get it done. And you know, I don't do anything in a huge rush. And this gimbal, it's forget how old I am and how weak my old arms are. But anyway, the gimbal should help me get some better shots and keep the camera, you know, more aimed at me and whatnot. Hopefully teach me to be a better camera person. We'll see. I am liking the new Pixel 8 that I got from one of my subscribers, and I'll get used to the gimbal eventually. I'm just not used to, you know, camera being right up in my face. But anyway, there you go. There's the new rack. So there you go. It's just, and keep in mind, this is a compilation of video over the past month that I've taken when I remembered that I was doing a video on moving the rack. The problem is I get so invested into a project that sometimes I get lazy or I get forgetful and I forget to film. That is why it's so important for me to have these surveillance cameras up and running now to where I can use the pan, tilt, zoom. And if I know I'm going to be working on a project, I can just leave the surveillance running, and then I can always pull that footage and then narrate it later, like I did with some of this footage. So those surveillance cameras come in very, very handy. Not the best of video quality, but they're good enough for the YouTubes. You know, I mean, you're not watching Uncle Joe's Playhouse in 4K, I hope, because it's a huge waste of time. And I got my inspiration from Sakura. Well, I get all my inspiration from Sakura. No, not really. He said having the rack out in his, you know, area where he lives wasn't bad at all. Now, I don't live here. with these servers. I can get up and leave this room. So, the idea back then was to put everything in that room. But once I started getting the solar equipment in there and the having to rewire the electric, and now I've got to make room for batteries. That's the big thing. Those batteries they weigh a couple 100 pounds, and they're about the size of a 4U rack case. Sometimes they're as high as a 6U rack case. That just gives you an idea of the kind of size of a battery I'm going to be dealing with. And I'm going to have like 5 or 6 of them in order to have enough capacity. So I really needed the room in there, and it was hard to turn around in that room without my butt or my arms or my elbows knocking into something. So my fear was moving this out here, I was not going to leave enough space to walk by and not run into it. And I've never run into it, not once. So we also did a 720-ectomy. I hated parting that thing out and ripping its guts apart, but I didn't have any more time or monetary means to spend on that server. It had served its purpose, and the money was better spent on something else, which you'll see in an upcoming video. I spent a lot of money on a lot of equipment to get this rack up to the level where I need it now for the kind of training I want to do. The thing about being in this business is you got to stay on top of your learning. You got to learn new stuff, and you got to be willing to put forth the effort, because you're not just going to, pick it up like a sponge like you did when you were in your 20s and 30s. And I want to stay relevant, and I like working on this stuff, and I want to know how it works. So you're going to be coming with me on kind of my great obsession tour, where I play around a lot with AI and AI related stuff and personal assistance and storage of long-term storage of internet or data off the internet, that kind of thing. Well, that's it for now. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Leave your comments in the comments section. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. It really does help with the YouTube algorithms. Even if you don't want to subscribe anyway, please. Because, it lets YouTube know that you find our content at least worthy of your eyeballs, okay? You could turn off notifications if you don't want to be notified of all my new videos. But anyway, subscribe, click the notification bell. That way you will be notified of new videos if that's your choice. None of that just made sense, but you get what I mean. Please come. Oh, donate if you're so inclined. PayPal, Patreon. I got to pay for all this stuff somehow. So your gracious donations are greatly appreciated. PayPal, Patreon, YouTube Join, or YouTube Premium member. Any of those will work. Or, just send me a check in the mail. That would be cool. Or if you want to donate some parts, I ask that you reach out and contact me first before you send them. And we'll talk about if I can use them here or not. I am not your personal junkyard. So just that being said, it was good to see you all. Thanks for coming to see this old guy. Come back and see us again. We'll see you on the other side.
I've been watching old Unky Joe. From Texas heat to where the cacti grow. Fixing server solar power in the land. Hoping that his plans all stand. Making life a touch more bright.